Is it doing this? If I say join us in a tweet, I feel like the Jimmy Neutron movie. Join us, Jimmy, join us. It's always what I think about.
Oh, really?
Hello, everyone. My name is not Ian Glendon. Welcome back to episode 196 of Salvaggio and Cratty. Here for you again at 7 o'clock on the dot, Wednesday, June 5th. Find us pretty much wherever you find your podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, um, Twitch. I thought I forgot one of them there. Off to a hot start. Podchaser and Podbean. I discovered Podchaser when I made that little link tree type page the other day. We got Celtics finals preview. We got Oilers and Panthers preview. And then we'll cap it off with some Red Sox and some potential impassioned speaking about such a team that won 9-0 today from Ryan. But before I welcome you, or as I welcome you, do we have any reactions to any of the football news quickly? Because Justin Jefferson signed a big time deal, and so did Christian McCaffrey, set in the market a little bit at the running back position. How are we doing, Ryan? And do you have any thoughts?
Doing better than I was to start the day. Sitting in an hour worth of traffic and sitting in 45 minutes worth of traffic to take a 10-minute drive from Berwick to Burlington. That was a lot of fun because, everyone has to do road work at the same time. Everyone has to stop when the sidewalks are getting worked on. So I was about 45 minutes late to work this morning. So that was a great way to start my day off.
Sweet.
And I was going to ask you because I sat in just as much traffic on the way home. I'm fired up. I'm aggravated. So is there any way we can jump right into Red Sox and just get my aggravation out
Oh
right
man.
away?
If you feel so inclined, if you're willing to save the best for last, go ahead. But if you need to get it out, get it out.
I need to get it out. I think. I think if
Okay.
the fired up,
All
it
right,
would
go
carry
ahead.
over well.
I don't
Fuck you,
want
Sam Kennedy.
to.
Just
Oh, right.
in honesty, I'm sure the people that saw it this week or this past week, if they didn't, Sam Kennedy came under fire once again. Was on WEEI. As I said this previous week, was asked about the current state of the team. The very average Boston Red Sox, who just seem to want to play 500 baseball this season, last season, the season before that, and they're fine with it. Sam Kennedy, though, he thinks the Red Sox are underperforming, which is an absolute joke of a comment. I'm sure you saw it or heard it. If you didn't, I'm sure you maybe saw some backlash on it because it rightfully deserves backlash. This was the full, or not the full quote, because it was the article I took it from was like a page long. So I took, just the backside of it, where Sam Kennedy says, we're right at the 500 mark here, 56 games or whatever it is into the season, got 100 plus games to go. So we need to get hot. We need to continue to pitch the way we have and start getting guys on base and scoring more runs. But I don't think we've overperformed. I think if anything, we've underperformed, just given the talent and the competitiveness in the clubhouse. There's two ways I look at this idiotic comment. So I'll throw them out there for you and for the listeners, and then you can kind of tell me how you feel, which maybe side of the defense you sit on here with this one. To start, though, I want to play the name game with you and list off some Red Sox players, and you let me know before this season if you would have had any idea who these players were.
I'm just
Some
gonna
guys.
spoil it for you. No.
Okay, well, humor me here for
We'll
the sake
see.
of
We'll
for the
see
sake
though.
of it. I'll
I
run
will
down
be
the names.
honest.
Some of these guys I don't want to knock too much because they are a couple of nice stories, but regardless, it still fits my agenda of what I want to get across here. So we'll start with Chase Anderson. Before the season, did you know who that guy was?
Vaguely.
Okay, we'll put down vaguely for that one. Cam Boozer.
No.
No, got it. All right. Isaiah Campbell.
Indeed.
You did know who that was. Okay, I'm a little
Yes, I
surprised
was
by
I
that.
was excited about him. You
Okay,
do remember this, right? Come on,
vague,
brother.
vaguely to stick with the words. Garrett Cooper.
Very vaguely.
Okay, very vaguely. So we got a whole bunch of different ones so far. Cooper Criswell. Before I brought him to your attention, because this is a guy we talked about in the
No.
offseason where, okay, because I was
No.
going to say, I brought him up of like, this guy stinks. He's been good. He's proven me wrong a little bit. He's kind of tapered off a little bit here. But again, not the flashiest of signings. Same thing with this guy, Romy Gonzalez.
No.
Okay, thank you. Tyler Heineman.
Yes.
You did know Mr. Heineman. Okay, it's impressive. Brad Keller recently signed.
Yes.
You did. Okay. You tweeted it to me though. The bargain bin shopping continues, which yes, it does.
Oh, yes.
Dominic Smith, kind of a little cheat here
Yes.
because this is a guy we've talked about in the past, was brought up in trade deadline stuff. So that's a guy that I expect you to know. Naoki Awasawa. I think it's Awasua.
I
I
sure
don't know.
did not.
Okay, neither did I. And again, this is the guy we found out that if the Rays are getting rid of him, I can't imagine he's too good if the Rays are letting pitching go. This is the one that I kind of hurt myself a little bit here because again, it is a good story. Did get his first major league hit today after 11 seasons in the minors. Jamie Westbrook.
No, I did not know
Okay.
who that was.
Gotcha. Again, nice story. Guy's been in the minors for 11 years, put his dues in. But again, to the point that I'm going to make in a minute here, not a guy you should be relying on if you're the Boston Red Sox. I'm interested in this one because this is a guy that was on the team last year, Joe Jakes. You remember who that is?
Stinks.
Yes,
Stinks.
okay.
Yeah, real bad.
Thank you. Zach Short. Don't know if he played a inning for the Red Sox, but was a guy who was briefly on the roster.
I will put him in the vaguely category. He got
Okay.
traded. I know that. He got
And then
traded already.
I feel like you don't know this last player because I think you texted me when it happened. Vladimir Gutierrez.
No.
Okay.
Sure didn't.
So all those names, a
But
decent
that
amount of
sure
them.
didn't.
There you go. All right. So I'm glad you varied up your answers there. Very good. Yeah. So a lot of those guys you did not know. These are guys that again, Boston Red Sox, who at this point are the Boston Red Sox, a name and not in competitiveness because a team like the Boston Red Sox of past never should have had to rely on players like this. And Sam Kennedy, the snake oil salesman that he is, we'll bring up injuries and stuff like that. And we'll complain about that. And maybe he has a little bit of a case because the Red Sox are pretty banged up. Yeah, sure. So you can maybe give him that one. But again, some teams will have, fully developed players that if guys go down and get hurt, can rely on to come up and play well. Or, better offseason signings instead of, as we've talked about before, the garbage heap of players that you're bringing in. Like again, he's been fine, but the Romy Gonzalez's, the Tyler Heinemans, and I'll even go far to say the Dominic Smiths, because that's a guy that has not worked out in the past. But these are guys that you're relying on. And Garrett Cooper, who I think you and I might be able to put up more productive at bats at the plate at this point than he is. So that's ridiculous. If anyone has underperformed, as we know, it has been the front office. So kind of funny that Sam Kennedy thinks the players on the field are the ones underperforming when in fact it's the front office group that has not wanted to put any talent on this team in free agency for the last 3 years. Jared Carrabis had the tweet the other day. Red Sox through 60 games, 2022, they were 31-29. 2023, they were 30-30. And again, this was from a couple days ago, 30-30. But again, they're back at 500 now. Boston Sports Info had the tweet. Red Sox dating back to May 24th of 2019. Last 718 regular season games overall, 359 and 359 at home, 180 and 182. Actually, that was at home. The overall record was 359 and 359. So 180 and 182 at home, 179 and 177 on the road. Consistent. And then the other tweet was Red Sox defense since May 14th. Tied for first in the fewest errors with 4 in the American League. Tied for first in the fewest earned runs of 0 in the American League. Someone tell Sam Kennedy. Red Sox have been underperforming for 3 years now, and it has not been the team on the field doing so. It has been the front office. And on the other side, if he wants to argue that guys they've been underperforming, I'd like him to run that by guys like Connor Wong, who's having a career year, batted .235 last year, had 9 home runs and 36 RBIs. He's batting .327 at the time I took these stats. .327, 5 homers. He's almost matched his total from last year and 19 RBIs. He's got more than half of what he had last year. Rob Refsnyder, a guy that is kind of looked at as a throwaway guy. .248 last year, a homer and 28 RBIs. .337 this year. Has been one of your best hitters since coming off the injured list. Doubled his home runs, or 2 home runs already this year, 14 RBIs. Cutter Crawford's been excellent, a guy that I will absolutely live on it, and I will, take it that I was completely wrong about Cutter Crawford. He's been great. was very good to start the year. Tanner Houck has been an ace that has come out of nowhere. Guy had a 5.01 ERA last year. There were talks of, do you trade him in the offseason? Do you put him in the bullpen? Does he have a spot on this team? What's it going to be? He has turned into the de facto ace on this team. 5-5 record this year, but a whopping 185 ERA. He has been your best pitcher this season. So I'd like Sam Kennedy to look those guys in the face and say, guys, you're underperforming this year. These numbers that you're putting up right now, that some of you guys are almost single-handedly keeping us afloat at times, Houck especially, and Crawford definitely at the start of the year, you haven't been good enough. You're underperforming. I'd like him to look Andrew Bailey and Alex Cora in the face of a team that is filled with these injuries. And Andrew Bailey, who was, people talked about as the team MVP the first 2 months of the year because the Red Sox, oh, by the way, had the best rotation in baseball for those first 2 months of the year. Alex Cora, who, like we just talked about, has dealt with an injury-riddled roster and has kept this team at a 500 pace and has kept them competitive for the most part this season outside of, the games that have been pretty bad to watch here or there. Look those two guys in the face and say that you have underperformed this season. It's a joke. I don't get how just absolutely tone deaf this ownership group and this again, snake oil salesman. I have stressed it numerous times on this show how much I hate Sam Kennedy. Anytime he opens his mouth, there are Red Sox fans that will say like, oh, he's one of the few guys in the front office that actually does care. Like he's not in the same boat that John Henry is, and the ownership group and Tom Warner. Screw that. The guy's in the same boat as those two guys. He doesn't care. He'll come out and spout this stupid bullshit off every once in a while just to try to get fans behind him or try to think he's saying the right thing. And it always comes off so disingenuous. And it's unbelievable to me. Like that comment was idiotic that they've underperformed. They are what they are. They're a mediocre to average baseball team for the last 3 to 4 years. It's been obvious. There are stats to back it up. And again, I just can't believe some of the players that you've had on this roster that are putting up career numbers. You think they're underperforming? Again, like look yourself in the mirror, buddy, and say and try to figure out where the real underperformance has come. It's been the front office group the last 3 years.
Got the mic.
Flip a table and just walk off. Like I couldn't believe that when I heard it the other day.
I'm glad you said this because not only were we due, especially with things winding down in hockey, football post-draft is like a little quiet. You're just getting like OTAs and like early camp storylines. So I'm glad you brought the Red Sox talk back with a rant because that was awesome.
This could have come at a better time. It's a good point.
Yeah, like I pretty much agree with everything you said. It's just the crazy thing on top of it that makes it look bad in a whole litany of different reasons are the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only are you struggling partially because of the injuries on top of a not super stacked lineup that you didn't even try to stack a little bit.
Nope, not the slightest.
You don't have great options to replace these guys because of your laziness and your lack of willingness to spend money. So
you had Bobby Dahlbeck playing right field last night. I texted you because I caught the game halfway through. Didn't realize until like I turned the game on in the 5th or 6th inning or whatever it was, and saw that it didn't even dawn on me that Devers, Cooper, Smith, and Dahlbeck were all in the lineup together. Obviously, all those guys play similar positions. Devers obviously mainly third base, but Dahlbeck can play there. Cooper and Smith both first basemen. So didn't dawn on me until I watched Bobby Dahlbeck. Thank God this ball couldn't be caught. I don't know if you saw the highlight or watched it live like I did. Can't remember who it was that hit the home run. Oh, I think it might have been Albies last night for the Braves. Hits a home run that ends up in the Braves bullpen, which is the right side bullpen of Fenway Park, and Dahlbeck was standing at the Red Sox side of the bullpen on that left-hand side. So nowhere close to the baseball. Again, do you knock him too much? No, because he's not a right fielder. He's a first baseman and a third baseman. Doesn't play the outfield. Again, the Red Sox trying to shoehorn another player that doesn't play that position somewhere. Because like you said, they don't have any other options. And again, you can do the injury argument. That's fine because they have had a decent amount of injuries. But to your point, to the point I made earlier, you need to cover yourself better in these situations. You need to have better depth than, again, I hate knocking him, but a guy that's been in the minors for 11 years. Like, it shouldn't come to that when you're the Boston. Yeah. Like, that's a guy you call up at the end of the season when you're 20 games up in the division, and you're like, all right, we're just going to give some of these guys.
Story, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't be a guy you have to rely on to try to, cover your ass and get you wins at the midway point, or not even at the midway point in the season yet.
Yeah, it's bad.
Really is.
But like this type of shit is just predictable. I say it all the time when we talk about the Sox. It's just more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens. Like I think what they put together, given the circumstances, has been pretty impressive and more enjoyable to watch than some might have expected. So That's
Enjoyable
where we're at with the Red
might be a
Sox.
stretch.
I mean, like they could have been dog shit.
True. Like
And
my
they're floating right now. Like that's
yeah, I
the
mean
word
they're
they're
staying
they're
alive.
floating.
There's can't debate that.
They're
But
going for the life raft. Like
yeah.
that's where they're at, and that's where they are positioned to be by their own front office. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a little Red Sox anger to get off, more so
Yep.
Ryan than me.
Very upset when I saw that the other day. I'm like, you got to be kidding me with this fucking clown. Like,
Yeah. But on a better note, the Celtics start the NBA Finals
finally.
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis has been given the green light for a few days now, which is great. It is the Mavs. I hope nobody was too surprised after what we talked about last
I
week
know,
in
right?
this state of the series
We
last
talked it out
week.
like we might get an actual series, and then it ended
Yeah.
like what 2 days later, 3 days later.
You never know.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards' confidence was misplaced. The Mavericks are representing the Western Conference instead of the Timberwolves. And we got what should be a pretty good series. It could end quick, but it should be entertaining. The Celtics won the season series 2-0, as we discussed last week. Overall, pretty much across the board, the statistically better team in the playoffs and, of course, in the regular season. Much more depth. How are we feeling? Have you thought of anything in the last week that shifts your mindset from the prior show, or are you kind of just like in the same mindset pretty much entirely?
Yeah,
Because I am.
I'm sticking with the same mindset. Like I said last week, for people that may have missed it, we'll briefly run through kind of our thoughts from a week ago. Because again, almost the NBA schedule is kind of waiting for this point with Pro Bowl week off as well. But yeah, I'm again the Celtics' talent alone should be able to propel them, to a win in this series. Dallas, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think it's Luka, as great as he is, and Kyrie, as great as he's been these playoffs. It's them two and a bunch of guys. Like I don't know, I said it last week too. We're not going to go through the draft a team situation here, but I think you take at least 4 to 5 Celtics in this series before you would take another Dallas Maverick. It'd probably be PJ Washington would be that guy afterwards, after you get through the Celtics, of course. But with the thing you said earlier too, Porzingis, it seems like he's healthy. He's going to go. I've seen a lot of people have made the argument, if he's not healthy, the Celtics don't stand a chance in this series. Like they're going to lose. I can't remember. I have the box score here, so I'll try to pull it up as I talk here. One of these two games against Dallas, Porzingis didn't play. I think it was that first game, the 119 to 110 win that the Celtics had. Porzingis didn't play in that game. I think it was the second night of a back-to-back, so he sat just for rest purposes. Tatum went for 39. Brown went for 34. Horford and Holiday both rebounded. They had 6 and 7. Tatum factored in 11 rebounds as well. So it's not like this team, when Porzingis doesn't play against Dallas, they struggle. They blew Dallas out both games. Maybe the first game wasn't that much of a blowout, but they handled them pretty well in Dallas. Second game was an absolute blowout, as we know, 138 to 110. So I'm not going to come off my thoughts from a week ago. I think the Celtics are the better overall team. And even if, people have talked about, what if Tatum struggles again, if Brown struggles, they still have plenty of offensive talent like Derek White's due for a big game in these finals. You got to think Holiday has shown what he can do. If he has to shoot the ball more, be asked to score more. And I really think, especially with what's come out today, I don't know if you saw all the questions that have come out apparently recently about Doncic and Porzingis's relationship. When he was in Dallas, they've kind of had to shoot those rumors down that they didn't like each other. I don't know if that's going to fuel Porzingis, but I mean, he obviously has talked about it. He's psyched to get back out there after missing, 2+ weeks. So I think he's going to play with a fire under his ass. I do think maybe there is going to be a little bit of animosity towards the Mavericks. I think he's going to want to maybe prove something against them after it didn't work out there. So I think he'll be perfectly fine. Maybe looks a little rusty at the start of game one, but, you give him a game, I think he'll be perfectly fine moving forward. So I'm not worried. Dallas, I mean, they could cause problems if, depending if the Celtics, slip up. I think if the Celtics fall into the ISO ball that we've seen them fall into those problems before, I think that plays right into Dallas's hand. Like they have the better ISO player, obviously, and Luka, and even Kyrie, I think, is better in certain situations there. But if the Celtics are moving the ball around, if they're knocking down threes like we know they can, like I know Dallas had a better shooting percentage from deep in the playoffs so far this year, 37.2 to 36.8 in favor of the Mavs. I don't see that keeping up. Like the Celtics play better defense, I feel like, than any team the Mavericks have faced so far these playoffs. If they fall into a shooting gallery against the Celtics, they're going to lose. Like the Celtics have just, again, the superior talent. So for the sake of not rambling anymore, it's still all Boston for me. There really hasn't been anything that I've seen from the Mavericks that changes that.
Yeah, they're gonna hit the ground running. Porzingis, I didn't even really think of the whole revenge factor, which is interesting.
Mhm.
I don't know if he really strikes me as like a revenge guy, but maybe he masks that well. Um, but I mean, even if it's not revenge, you definitely want to beat a team that didn't want you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
like, it's really that simple. Um,
He had 24 in that
yeah,
second matchup. They all played. Sorry to cut you off there. I think everyone but
no, you're good.
Horford did play. But even like that, okay, you had a fully healthy Celtics team in that game. Tatum went for 32, Brown 25, Porzingis 24, Horford off the bench 12, White 13, and Holiday 11. Like you're not going to get that every game in this series. Don't get me wrong, but like you get even half of that from those guys. Like I don't see how Dallas keeps up if this again gets into a shooting gallery in favor of the Celtics.
Yeah, yeah. Luka's like we talked about last week, gonna have to go absolutely crazy in a shooting gallery matchup. Um, Celtics just have the horses. My mindset, like I was asking you, my mindset's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just of course, we have the official confirmation since last week that
Yeah, yep.
Porzingis will be in, which is nice. Not that I was worried, but it's nice to have that confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
But
I
yeah,
like
I
that they were
mean,
trying to. Sorry to cut you off, but I like that they were trying to play coy. It seemed like leading up to this, like a couple
mhm,
times Missoula was asked about it. He's like, "Oh, I haven't talked to any doctors. Like, I don't know
yeah,
yet." And it's like,
they're
dude, there
pulling
were
like a Jim Montgomery with the goalies.
yeah, but it was like, dude, there were reports in the last series that if like you played a game 5, Porzingis might have been able to play. So it's not like you were
Yeah,
getting that one by anybody that maybe he's gonna play, maybe he's not gonna play.
right. It's been a pretty known thing. Are there any other storylines we want to get into, or just reiterate our predictions and add any additional thoughts here?
There were a couple of questions. 'Cause, I mean, there's been some storylines that have come up again for the people who have needed stuff to talk about with the weeks off. And just there were a couple of questions that I had that were kind of pondering in my brain. I wanted to get through yours too. Obviously, the big question that has been asked or has been talked about, who guards Luka in this series? Who gets the shot at Kyrie? Because Kyrie played pretty well against White and Holiday. I don't have the stats, but I heard him the other day. He I don't want to say he cooked both of them, but the matchups were not in favor of Boston for that series. Luka, as we know, can go off. So if you're Joe Mazzulla, obviously we've seen Tatum shut down superstars in the playoffs before. That series against Durant a couple of years ago just completely locked him up in the Brooklyn series. What are you doing if you're the Celtics? Who's getting the first shot at Luka? Who do you feel most confident guarding, Kyrie? Where are you at on both those matchups?
I think it's going to be Brown covering Luca,
I'm
but
right
I
there with
would
you.
kind of prefer it be Tatum.
Okay.
I
Any
think
particular reason
Tatum.
why? There's one reason why I
I like the
might
length.
not do that.
I like
Okay.
the length, the arm length for Tatum. I also, think they're both great athletes. I think Tatum's a little bit of a better athlete. He's got longer legs, longer arms to keep up with. And I
Mhm.
think Brown can kind of like play more physical defense on Kyrie, which could get into his head a little bit.
Mhm.
So I like that. I think they're gonna mix it around. I think we could see some Drew Holiday in the mix there too on like certain types of plays. Drew picks up one of them. Al Horford at times. I don't know how much Al's going to, but they're
Yeah, I
gonna try
can't
and get
imagine.
they're gonna try and get defensive mismatches to get Tatum and Brown away from Luka and Kyrie. So you're gonna see guys not named Jalen and Jason on Luka and Kyrie at times in this game. I would assume I'm not a basketball coach, but that's what
Mhm.
I would do if I were the Mavericks coach.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I imagine they're gonna try and get creative, and I don't even know if it's gonna matter, but
Mhm.
for their sake, they're hoping that, and we'll see what happens because it's gonna be pretty interesting. Matt in the chat thinks Porzingis should cover Luka. Do we want that
See,
coming off an injury? But it's interesting with the size and
I was just gonna
the
say
arm
this:
length,
the
the arm
size and
length
the
again.
length. You could maybe. You're not gonna scare Luca off of anything. Don't get me wrong, but it is the height and the length is interesting. The one thing I was worried about, and it was what I was gonna bring up, a couple of things on why I might not want Tatum to do it. Luca's gonna try to get to the free throw line as much as he possibly can. So like
Excellent point.
that's why Porzingis on him scares me too. Of like, do you really want to risk Porzingis getting into foul trouble and then like
Hmm.
I Al's gonna have his moments in the finals. Don't get me wrong. He's not gonna, I feel like, be as cold as he was in that Warriors series. Because I mean he was gassed by the end, but you could tell, and I think they've done a decent job of late and obviously with his time off of limiting his minutes. Um, I don't like the bigger guy. I'm with you. I would go Brown because I think Brown's the more physical defender. But then again, that plays into is that going to hurt him in the end of Luka getting to the free
Hmm.
throw line? Tatum too. Like I think they will throw Tatum at him at times, but I would prefer Tatum kind of expend more of his energy on the offensive end, like and leave Brown as kind of Brown's going to score. Don't get me wrong. But like if there's one side of the ball you want Brown to really lock it in, and I think he will. I think if you give him the defensive task of Luka, I think he'll get up for that absolutely. Especially, I think too, if he's still trying to prove people wrong, like he absolutely should have made the all defensive team. Like that's a matchup he'll take in stride, and if he can shut down Luka, that I think you give him a really good shot of winning the MVP. But maybe that's what Tatum goes for, because if Tatum scores like we know he can, and then you shut down Luka on top of that, and obviously then you win the finals too. Like I think that you got a unanimous MVP there. But going back and watching that Brooklyn series, a couple highlights, Tatum was on Kyrie a decent amount in that series. So maybe they throw Tatum at Kyrie. I feel like that might cause some matchup problems from a height standpoint. If you're throwing Luka or not Luka, if you're throwing White or Holiday on like a small forward or a guy, not Gafford because he obviously is a center, but like a PJ Washington type of thing. So maybe that's a disadvantage for the Celtics, but I'm with you. I think they'll throw a couple of different looks. If I had to guess right now, though, you give Brown the Luka assignment to start the series, and then you throw the combination of White or Holiday at Kyrie and see which one of them, fares better in the end.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is like it just goes back to the bounty of options you have.
Absolutely.
It makes it a little bit of a tough decision, but a good tough decision. But
Mm-hmm.
like maybe it won't be in the end. Maybe it's just as simple as Brown.
Yeah.
This series is just like not only like championship or bust. This is the Warrior series you could have won, but there was reason to believe you'd struggle at times. You're facing a legendary group of guys. This is like you're facing a legendary player like fairly early on in his career in Luke and a great player in Kyrie, but like this is the one that you were hoping regardless of maybe not regardless of the outcome. If they lost against the Warriors, this is the one down the road, the next opportunity that you were hoping was going to be the genesis of it all. And
Mm-hmm.
sure, were people going to predict they'd have this much depth around Tatum and Brown? That's hard to predict. But you are in a position to not only be title or bust, you are in a position to deliver on what the vision of the team has been for the past 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it a few times. I don't think they're going to be stopped.
No, I can't. Again, we have kind of keys to each team winning and what could doomsday scenario, what happens for the Celtics to give this thing away. Like this is one of those I heard people talking about it the other day, and I can't remember who it was. Might have been Felber Maz that brought it up. Like the comment was like this: if the Celtics lose these finals, it will be because the Celtics lost the finals. It's not because Dallas beat them. Like it'll be the Celtics turning the ball over 25 times a night and going cold from shooting. It's not going to be that you were single handedly beaten by the Mavericks. Like that, if you get where I'm coming from, type of thing. Like the Celtics will lose it more than Dallas wins it. So I think that very well could easily be the case as well. At the Celtics, as you said, the deepest, the most talented they've been in a long time, should not. I'm confident to say should not have a problem with this team. Like again, I'm not sold on the Mavericks. If you get you're gonna get massive Luka nights, but it's the other guys around you that are gonna be the ones that are gonna have to beat you if you're the Mavericks. One of those guys being Kyrie Irving. I'm sure you've seen maybe on Twitter or if you've seen or heard some of the interviews, this whole new Zen Kyrie thing that's been going on, talking about how appreciative he is of everything and maybe give him some credit, apologizing for flipping fans off and giving fans, the FU in that net series a couple years ago. Are you buying this? How long do you think this keeps up for? I'm right there with you. I don't
think
believe
he can
any
keep
of this.
it rolling. I don't think he's sincere, and I just don't care. Like
fair enough, yeah.
Like
it is. It's a storyline though. It's Kyrie
so,
coming back. Like
it's so like, hey, look at me, I'm better now. Like,
yeah,
forgive me. Like, yeah, maybe
good point. I haven't
be
seen
focused more
anybody
on
kind of.
basketball, dude.
I haven't seen anybody argue that side of it. Like I very well could easily see that as well. Like this is the show I'm going to put on to try to get people back on my side of like, see,
Yeah,
I'm better off than I was now back then. Like I've moved past all this. Like if people want to keep bringing it up, that's on you guys. But I'm all set with this. Like the first FU Kyrie and couple of shots he misses in the Garden these first couple of games, he's going to go right back to complaining and being a whiny prick like he is.
yeah. So fuck him.
Yeah. Fair.
What's next? We want to talk. I like this question you have of whose legacy does this affect more?
Yeah, because I'm a little interested in the direction that you went in, and I'm kind of curious. Maybe, I mean, it might be different if I ask the question of whose legacy does it affect more if they lose. But we can argue either side. You said Luka for this question. What was your reasoning behind, his first trip to the finals and maybe resulting in his first win?
I think Luka well, Tatum is scrutinized in because he's from Boston a lot.
Mhm.
I think Luca, to me, maybe I'm wrong, has seen more of a player that can carry a team
Mhm.
and like just completely dominate. I think his offensive upside, at least scoring points, is higher than Tatum's as well.
Yep.
I think if he wins, he is carrying his team over a legendary Celtics squad, at least in the last 10 years.
It would be one of the biggest
Um,
upsets in NBA history from a betting standpoint, from a seeding standpoint, because obviously no 5 seed has ever been to the finals, so that would be a thing as well to keep in mind.
but like if he doesn't do enough, I think he is going to get stomped by the media.
Really?
And that's what I think is going to crush him crush him a lot, rather, I should say. And part of the thing, like, I don't think the Celtics are going to lose. Like, that doesn't really lend to the argument. So, like, so me saying, like, it hurts Tatum more is kind of obvious because,
Yeah.
like, he's losing with a legendary team, like, depth wise,
Hmm.
with a great guy making all pulling all the bells and whistles and a coach that's really found a role here.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm over or under thinking it a little bit, depending on how people look at this, but that's kind of my reasoning. I think Luca's billing has been that he can carry a team and he should win championships and he's one of the best scorers. Like, I think if people are going to look at him differently if they just get stomped in 5 games,
Hmm.
unless he averages like 35 points, that's a little
Yeah.
different. But
Yep.
I don't know. I think people are going to look at Luca a little different, but I don't know. He's got enough love around the league that gives me some pause, I feel like.
Yeah,
So
he's pretty well respected, pretty well liked. So it's not
it's kind of
like
hard, like, because I also just feel like the Tatum thing is too obvious. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a case for Luca, even if it might not be the strongest, most ironclad thing.
no, it's fair because that's the side I lean on. Is I've seen this is again that people have needed stuff to talk about with this much time off between these games and these series. So this is something that was always going to come up, and the fact that it's come up as much as it has and is even a talking point. Like I was on that side of like Tatum is the obvious answer for a
Hmm.
lot of reasons. Like you said, Tatum, the slander he has gotten for whether it's he doesn't show up in these games, the route that they got to go to the number 1 seed, get to face all these cupcakes, which again, crazy that the number 1 seed has the easiest route to the, finals, the Super Bowl, the World Series, the Stanley Cup final, whatever it is. Crazy how that works. Again, if you care about the regular season, the fact that I think you brought it up that people argue that Tatum's on a super team and he doesn't have to carry this team. There's also the fact that you get here again and you lose to the Mavericks. You're now a 2-time NBA Finals loser, which would not be a great sign for
Yeah,
Tatum.
no,
Like the Celtics will get laughed off the floor or laughed
they
off the
will.
out of the
Yeah,
NBA if they lose this
and
series.
the
Because
thing
again,
is, like, Tatum, even if he goes off, people are gonna say like, oh, he just had an awesome team around him. Like,
the I heard it
yeah,
right before we jumped on here. There was a clip of Zolak and Bertrand, and Beetle brought this point up of like Tatum. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if he plays well, you're gonna get like, oh, it's the Mavericks. They were the 5 seed. Like they were gonna
yeah.
roll over and die anyway. If he stinks, you're gonna get see, Tatum needs a super team around him to win the NBA
Yeah,
Finals.
like
So like,
just ignoring the fact that he's putting up historic point scoring numbers in the playoffs and the
yeah, it's
likes
just
of
been
Kobe
his best
Bryant for
playoffs, I
his
think,
age.
and out of his career. And like I said too, like you
He's
want to
already over
cement
like 2,200 playoff points or something. What was it, the number? Like it
this.
was
It's
close.
just something ridiculous that
Yeah,
he's already up there with like some of the greats in the
yeah,
NBA. I
Kobe.
know that I can't remember the exact one, but I know what stat you're talking about.
Yeah, he's
And
gonna
then
pass Kobe.
yeah, absolutely. Again, pretty good list to be on. I think he's right up there with it. It's something like it's Jordan and somebody else, or LeBron and somebody else, isn't it? It's something
Mhm.
along the lines of that. But the other thing too, I wanted to bring up, and we can transition this kind of into final thoughts on how this series might go, stuff like that. Keys to the teams winning. Like I said earlier, if you're Jason Tatum and you want to read into this legacy stuff and cement your legacy, you're not gonna completely shut down Luca. Like he's still gonna get 25 plus a night, it seems like. But if you can limit him here and there and put your
Mhm.
stamp on the defensive end, and if you're Tatum, go out and get 25 plus, maybe get a double when it comes to rebounds, average, over 5 assists. You do that and you lock up Luca and you win the NBA finals. Like I think any criticism of him should go right out the
Yeah.
window.
And
Like
Jalen Brown with his comments on the FanDuel thing, like are what they are, but like he's gonna get tripped a lot too if they were to lose because he had that whole comment like
absolutely.
a bunch of he's like wants to win so many championships by a certain age. He
He's got to
hasn't
get
won one
five
yet.
championships in this one NBA finals. So, because
Yeah.
that time is up.
If you win 5 games, doesn't that count as 5 championships? They just
Mate,
got to win an extra one.
yeah,
8 game series, best of Wait,
Your math might be
no,
off there.
no,
Yeah.
9-game series, 9-game
Yeah.
series.
There you go.
Um,
Every win counts as one title.
right,
Yep.
yeah, but do we want to just get into reiterating our predictions here for anybody who doesn't know them?
Yeah, I'll throw mine out there really quick. Celtics in 5, like I said, I've been confident on that. Again, if the Mavericks are going to win this series, it's because the Celtics fall apart, or they fall back into the ISO tendencies. And again, I said it earlier, is going to play right into Luka and Kyrie's hands. But again, their talents over everything. Porzingis is back; he's healthy. Like even if he wasn't 100%, like I think you still a 75% Porzingis is still enough to get you to the finals because it should be the Brown and Tatum show at this point. Like you should get both those guys up for this series and wanting to, again, like you said, prove a lot of these doubters wrong. So like I said, Celtics in 5. I'm gonna go a step further because I put this down for a bet as well. Celtics win games 1 and 2, drop game 3, first game in Dallas, and then just balls to the wall, game 4, game 5. Finish this thing off at home for a little extra sweetener as well. And Jason Tatum, like I said, cements that legacy talk. And ends up winning Finals MVP. Even though I did put some money on Brown to win it because the odds were decent, and Jaylen Brown, as we've seen before, can get up for these games a little better than Tatum has been able to in the past.
I agree, and I have the same exact predictions.
Nice.
Games
Same
total,
games
game
or
order, and
okay.
MVP. Celtics in 5. Win-win, loss, win-win. Tatum MVP. Because not only is Tatum the best player on the team, and he probably will be if they win, it's just poetic. Like he will, even if he doesn't have the best case, I feel like they're still gonna give it to him.
Yeah, I
Unless
mean, there's some people that
unless
thought he
Jaylen
should
Brown
have.
drops like 33 points a game and like 8 rebounds and 6 assists and shoots like 48%
Oh,
from three or something
you never
crazy.
know. Tatum's stats were
Um,
better in that Eastern Conference Finals from a points, from a
yeah,
rebounds, maybe even I think even assists. But Brown obviously had the more
it just
impactful plays, so that's why he
it
got
makes
that.
the
So
most sense that the guy lauded as the franchise guy more than anyone on the team gets MVP the first time, unless they
absolutely,
just stink and everybody else picks them up.
yeah.
Which
Unless
stinking for Jason Tatum would be averaging like 23 points a game. So
I was gonna say, unless you have like an Andre Iguodala type of moment from like Derek White or Drew Holiday, and he completely um, locks down Luka, who and have him average like 15 points a game, then you would have to
right.
have somebody not named Tatum or Brown win it, but that's obviously not going to be the case.
Yep. Well, it's exciting. It's fun to be in the finals. We're both feeling pretty good. So
Yeah,
all starts tomorrow. It's gonna be a fun night. It's
it's
gonna be a
about
crazy
damn
night in
time.
Boston.
Like
And
I've
we're having watch parties. The Celtics are doing watch parties for 3 and
nice.
4. I don't know about 6 if they get to 6, but I saw 3 and
Don't even
4.
let it
So
get there.
yeah, and if you want to go, if you didn't know that, now you can go to a viewing party and hang out
There
with
you go.
Celtics fans and stuff. Partake in some libations if you'd like.
There you go.
Um, the NHL is also in championship mode. We have the Panthers and the Oilers. The Rangers cannot get it done. The Panthers win in 6.
Kudos to you for your
Really,
prediction.
yep. Thank you. Really
Yep.
tough times in Rangerland. Trubo playing through a broken foot. A lot of stuff going on. Their breakup day stuff happened yesterday. Someone asked Mika Zibanejad who he'd like them to get to play on his wing, which was kind of weird. They can't get it done. They just got steamrolled for a lot of that series. It's not super surprising. And the Oilers beat the Stars, and Connor McDavid scored what will be a legendary goal if they win or lose in this cup final, because that was crazy. They win game 6. McDavid takes over early, played great. I think he played one of his best games of the playoffs, in my opinion. That's what you rely on your guy to do. And the Oilers are there. They're there for the first time in ages. They will be trying to win a cup for the first time, I believe, 31 years for Canada. And I hope they do, because my tweet pissed off a lot of people, and I could have been more specific, but I'm in the camp of like everybody should be rooting for the Oilers outside of Panthers fans. Obviously, without wording, I had some Stars fans like, fuck that, I'm not gonna root for them. I obviously didn't mean
Yeah,
you guys should root for them. If you want to, go ahead. And like Avalanche fans, like, yeah, like you're not gonna root for them. I get it. Like it's McDavid versus McKinnon. They're a rival in the Western Conference. They get in the way of cups for you. They will get in the way of cups for you, and they did this year indirectly.
maybe this is just an outside source or outside because again, I don't have a dog in this fight, but like for the sake of the sport, like I feel like you should be rooting for Connor McDavid to win a cup. Like I
It's good for the
maybe
sport, man.
that's what I mean. Maybe I'm wrong. Like if people were rooting for Crosby for his first one, I damn sure know people were rooting for Ovechkin when they got there for him to win his first.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
again, you can make the case if you're a Dallas fan or somebody that the Oilers have gone through these playoffs. Um, but if you're a true hockey fan, like there's a party that should be rooting for McDavid to win this one. The guy's done everything else
Yeah.
except win, as we've talked about numerous times. Like this is the best shot he's ever had, obviously.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people don't like Evander Kane and Corey Perry, and that's totally fine with me. But I think overall, outside of those guys, really, it's a really likable group. Um, and I think they're pretty easy to root for. Chris Knobloch winning in his first year as coach, well, incomplete first year, he took over for Jay Woodcroft and has revolutionized that team in ways. So it's going to be a great matchup. I think this is the chance to be maybe the best, if not one of the best Cup finals in the past decade. Personally, if Edmonton can keep up, because we know Florida can shut teams down, but at the same time, Florida hasn't faced a team with Edmonton's firepower. So
Fair.
it's going to be fascinating to watch. As you have broken down here, goals for Edmonton second, averaging 3.5 a game. Seventh, it's with 2.61 allowed on average. First in power play and penalty kill percentage, 37.3% on the power play and 93.9 on the penalty kill.
Pretty good.
Ninth best save percentage at 900. And Connor McDavid's got a defenseman stat line with 5 goals and 26 assists. With one of those big 5 goals coming in clincher. Panthers on the other side, fourth in goals for 3.24 with 2.29 against. Well, again, that's one of those numbers. We'll see if that number gets a little higher with a team like Edmonton coming in. Power play just 23.3%, a 14-point difference from Edmonton's, and their penalty kill is second. So 2 good penalty killing teams. The Rangers were once a great penalty killing team. That changed, of course. 88.2% second place. And 908 overall save percentage, and Matthew Tkachuk leads them with 5 goals, 14 assists, and 19 points. It's a battle of the Evans in the Stanley Cup Finals. There's never been an Evan on the Stanley Cup, apparently, which is pretty fun.
That's wild.
We got Evan Rodriguez and Evan Bouchard. Yeah, this series is just going to be great. You have a high-powered offensive team and a goalie that can stand on his head in Stuart Skinner. We'll see how consistently he can do it. And then you have a fascinating matchup where how is Alexander Barkov going to neutralize Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? Like, how is Anton Lundell going to factor in? Is Sam Reinhart's high-level scoring ability going to be able to, be up to snuff to McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Bouchard, Carter Verhaeghe? That guy is always the next factor in the playoffs now. But when you're facing a team that can score like Edmonton, if he can keep those clutch goals going up, that's going to be huge for Florida. I think Bob, for good stretches of the playoffs, has not been tested very well. And I don't think that's going to be the case with Edmonton. I think they're going to pepper him. I think they're going to get a ton of high danger chances. So we'll see how he holds up. Gustav Forsling, leading the defensive core these days, is going to have his biggest test. I think he can handle it pretty well, but you never know with a team like Edmonton coming in. Ekblad, Montour, if you're going to pull your antics, if you're Florida, it's not going to work as well probably against the darling of the league and a team like the Oilers that has so much legendary history and is trying to bring the cup back to Canada. So if I'm Florida, I'm being a little more careful. But we'll see. They kind of have it in their DNA. Let's see if they can scrub it out. It's going to be awesome. Matthew Tkachuk is going to have to be Matthew Tkachuk. He's going to have to get under skin. He's going to have to be a bastard. I wonder how much we see Nick Cousins come in the lineup to do a little bit of that, Ryan Lomberg, but those guys are also liabilities and are out of the lineup for a reason.
Not great.
So you got to have to find the balance. The fourth line is going to have to be tough. Stanley can get in the mix. Lawrence can get in the mix. We know Evander Kane likes to be physical. Darnell Nurse is going to have to be a lot better if Edmonton wants to keep pucks out of the net. They pay him a lot of money, and he's had a really, really rough playoff. It's just a fascinating matchup. I'm very excited. And you got a guy in Chris Knobloch who took a shot at the Buffalo Bills yesterday versus the very smug Paul Maurice. So it's just like asking like how much did all that Super Bowl experience help the Bills? So because Florida made it last year and lost 9-3 in the clincher. Haha. One of the does not get talked about enough that they lost 9-3
That bad, yeah.
to clinch.
That is pretty bad. Talk about not showing up for a clincher game. Oh my god.
Another guy would be interesting to see win a cup. Vladimir Tarasenko gets there as a rental, hasn't won a second cup.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how you
God damn it! Well, I try to put that in the back.
I was just gonna say, you did a
from the record,
great job of wiping that from your memory.
Fuck. God damn it! Ah, man.
There's probably a lot of Bruins fans that are out there thinking the same thing you are, though. Of like, he definitely didn't win a cup.
Yeah, no, he didn't. Bruins, Blues game 8 is actually this week. So.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
They've been waiting to play that one for a long time. Well, to take your mind off that, you did bring up an interesting point that, again, kind of goes back to the argument that we started this off with, is if you're a hockey fan or just a purebred hockey fan, you should be rooting for the Oilers. That, too, if you're a Canadian hockey fan, like, you should be rooting for the face of the league to be the guy that brings the cup back to Canada for the first time in 30-plus years.
Aside,
exactly. Like, come on.
I get rivalries, and I'm not saying you can't root against them, but like, come
on.
Yeah,
absolutely. But
like,
again,
you could at least go see the cup. There are going to be some prideful fans that'll say, like, I don't want to see the cup if it's on my team. But, like, I don't know. I would like people to put their differences aside. It's good for the league. It's a league that's growing, finally, some ways more than others. Let's try and keep it that way. You shouldn't root for the Panthers because they're a spineless team. So, Oilers in 7, with all that said. Oilers in 7, track meet series. I could absolutely see the Panthers winning. I say this a lot, but I have to put it out there so people don't think I'm just all in on the Oilers. I am confident, though. I think they can overwhelm the Panthers a little bit, but the Panthers are very strong. They're extra motivated losing last year. Paul Maurice never won a cup. I'd rather it stay that way. It'd be a cool full circle moment for Knobloch and McDavid. Knobloch coaching him up in juniors as an exceptional status player into who he's been today, to him coming back to Edmonton and them winning a cup in their first year after starting the year in horrendous fashion, prompting the coaching change. At one point, made my preseason Leon Draisaitl trade request prediction look pretty good. We'll see if he hits the market next summer. David Pastrnak wants him. I'm going Oilers in 7. I am sort of willing it to existence, but I think it is possible, and I think I like their odds if it gets to 7, although they'll be on the road.
I wanna root for your prediction. I do, because I don't want to see the Panthers win a Stanley Cup at all, ever. That being said, I know you just said, and I agree with you, that they play like scumbags. If they did not, I had this conversation the other night dinner with my grandfather, and I had it a couple weeks ago with my uncle, same thing. If they didn't play like scumbags, they play really good playoff hockey. Like, they're physical, they're gritty.
No, they are, yeah.
They can beat in a lot of different ways. Like, they're entertaining to watch.
I think Bob can crack.
That's where I'm at. I think both goalies are in that spot, though. Like, how reliable is Skinner? Like, I feel like stunk before this year. At least his playoff run.
Another guy on the defense that's been very sneakily impactful and, like, outside of the score sheet, Mattias Ekholm. That's a guy you got for the playoffs, and he can be a huge difference maker.
Like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I'm taking Panthers in 6. I think they're gonna out-tough, out-physical. I think they'll cause some problems for the Oilers, but it is an interesting point that you do bring up. And it is funny, like I did just say that, the Panthers compete in a lot of different ways, but as you sent me the other night after the Oilers won, like the Oilers shoot, 8 shots on goal, 10 shots on goal, win the game 2-0. Like, that can be good and bad. That's pretty exactly. That's pretty impressive and also like pretty pathetic, but like,
yeah,
it is a good point. Yeah, it is a good point, though, too, that you brought up of, like, that the Panthers really haven't been tested. Like you just said, Bobrovsky can crack. Like, Rangers obviously gave him
the Lightning had stretches, but they lost in 5. Bruins.
I was gonna say the Bruins didn't even have him break a sweat. Like,
just really horrible at times. But
that was gonna be my point. Like, he basically got the Bruins series off.
The Rangers offense kind of fell apart as things went along.
Yeah,
A little
absolutely.
bit.
It's
Like it
later
wasn't
that as
consistent.
later that got
Panarin
on.
couldn't score. He scored a meaningless goal in the clincher for Florida. Well, could have not been meaningless, but Kreider didn't have his best series. Advantage I didn't have his best series. Like I don't think you should have to worry about that if you're the Oilers too much. And I do have the thought in the back of my mind that like no matter what, Connor McDavid will not be denied in his first time there. He's good enough to take over, good enough to even against Florida drop a 4-point game.
Okay. I'd like to
And
see
Leon
that.
Draisaitl, like if you can get him open, like he's gonna score on Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky's like he's capable of these miraculous saves, but like Draisaitl scores from tight angles, I think better than anyone in the league. Like
That's I'm a little
they're gonna throw creativity against Florida like that Florida hasn't seen.
Mhm. That's where
And I hope I'm right.
I hope you are too. Again, I can't stress that enough. Even though I'm picking the Panthers, I'm rooting for the Oilers. That I'm a little worried. Like, if say the Panthers do somehow find a way to shut both those two guys down or limit them to some capability, like after that, what does Edmonton really have to carry them? Like, I feel like Florida's just a better all around team too.
Mhm.
Like Edmonton obviously has the star power, and the top heaviness of McDavid and Draisaitl, like you said, and
And
everybody knows
Hyman,
obviously.
Shaq
And
Hyman.
yeah, yeah,
He's a moneymaker, 14 goals, I think. So
that's pretty good.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I like the Panthers just all around, just slightly better. But
Yeah,
again, I
that's
can't
totally
stress it
fair.
enough that
Totally fair.
like I 100% want the Oilers to win this thing. I don't care if the cup goes back to Canada. Like I feel like people shouldn't give a crap about that at this point.
Yeah,
Like
it's you'd be surprised if you read the replies to my tweet that
that's
caught a
what
lot of
people. Yeah,
attention.
it
That
doesn't have to be
happened
you.
fast,
People are
by the way.
livid.
That happened fast, by the way.
People were just waiting.
As I remember, like I checked Twitter, I was out with my aunt, and like it had like I think like 3 retweets, like a few likes. And I looked back like 20 minutes later, it had like 14 notifications. Then it just all snowballed. Like, holy
Yeah,
shit,
no,
people. People get like really angry. Like, it's not that serious,
no.
guys. Like, you don't even know who I am. Come on, I'm a nice
Summer's
guy.
ruined because Canada got the cup
Fuck.
again. God damn it!
Um,
What do I do with my life now?
I don't know, man, but we'll see. It's gonna be so
It
exciting.
should be a great cup final. You're 100% right too. You
really,
get
really awesome cup
yeah.
final. But
Yep.
um, what else here? Nah. I was gonna see if we had any other notes. Should we do Conn Smythe, Connor McDavid?
I was just gonna say, do we have to? It's obvious. Like
Well, you have the Panthers winning.
that's true.
How
It'll
much do you
be
see it given to a loser? Is it Kachuk? Is it Bobrovsky?
it,
Is it
it
Sparkov?
it's probably Kachuk. Like so, like
Yeah.
you said, someone's gonna have to step. He's gonna have to step up his play because I feel like he's been pretty tame. I feel like at least these last couple of
He's like
he
he's
tapered
putting
off in
up
the Bruins
points.
series for sure, but
He puts up points, but he's not like as much of the like bash bro Kachuk at times.
yeah, yep.
Like he hasn't, I guess, he's gone against something I say. He hasn't got suckered into everything because
True. Yeah.
he can get suckered into everything, which
He's
is,
held back pretty well these last couple of series, I feel like,
yeah, I know,
from his
but
typical douchebagginess. But yeah, I get where you're coming from.
yeah, but I don't know. It's got to be Kachuk. I agree. So, but they could give it to Bob. He'd have to play like have to really step up. But you know, the goalies, if you really stand on your head, have a good case. So,
Absolutely.
let's check in on some other notes across the league. And first, the occasional BC note. I said last week, Will Smith left. I have predicted 2 big moves to the Boston College Eagles. I tweeted them out days prior that I wanted William Moore, 5-star recruit, top uncommitted 2007 player from the U.S. U17 program, one of 2 uncommitted players. What did they do? They landed William Moore. What do you do when you lose a William at center that's a 5-star recruit? You get another William that is a 5-star recruit. And I've been saying ever since I found out a couple weeks ago, Dean Letourneau, get him here a year early. He was going to go to the USHL, then to BC. What do they announce today at the NHL Combine? He tells reporters that he's going to BC because Will Smith is gone. There's a center spot open. The big 6'7", 210-pound, 18-year-old monster center
That's
is
a
coming in.
center? Jesus.
Yes.
That's
He's a
ridiculous.
potential first rounder.
I would hope so.
We're back up. I don't know if William Moore doesn't sound like he's coming next summer, but he's eligible to.
He's coming.
He will come
At some point.
He will come. in two falls from now, probably. Pause. I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about it. Can you tell? Can you tell? I freaked out. We were celebrating my mom's birthday. I freaked out at the table, so that everybody thought something was wrong.
She's like, "Oh, you're really excited about my birthday?" No, fuck that. Hockey.
No. Shout out to my mom. Happy birthday. She's not listening to this, but that's okay. Could the 10th overall pick be had for Linus Ullmark? Devils GM Tom Fitzgerald has it on the table. And I get it because they want to win now. And Tom Fitzgerald likes him. I do not think Linus Ullmark would fetch you the top 10, the 10th overall pick straight up. There would have to be other pieces involved. It could. And apparently, I didn't see this, but our friend we were talking about last week, bringing up good points all the time, Ty Anderson brought up a point that apparently Don Sweeney is, one of his ideal outcomes is something similar to the Corey Schneider trade on draft day in 2013, which landed the Vancouver Canucks in return the 9th overall pick that led to Bo Horvat.
Pretty good player. Wouldn't hate that.
Listen, if the Bruins get the 10th pick and get Berkeley Catton, I will throw a parade.
The BC kid?
No, he's just so awesome, and he might be available. He's a little undersized, but
I love those guys.
That would have to get a little shut up. That would have to be a little more complex.
You know it's true.
If they got that done straight up though, that would be insane. I think Ullmark would be amicable to waiving to go to New Jersey too, personally. But that would be very interesting. We'll see if that pick is on the move. The draft is in late June. Could Columbus be a landing spot for Linus Ullmark, who is Columbus who is run by Don Waddell now, who was negotiating with the Bruins when he was with Carolina this past season. They're trying to move out Elvis Merzlikins. Good luck, because he stinks and he makes $5.4 million for the next 3 years. That'll have to be a dump to someone like Anaheim or someone else, maybe Chicago. Speaking of Anaheim, they're trying to get rid of Trevor Zegras and John Gibson, apparently, but they've been trying to get rid of John Gibson for like 3 years. And now he's worse, so they should have done it in the past. Just something to monitor. That's only like if they get rid of Merzlikins, though, I bet. So we'll see if Don Waddell expresses interest there. Derek Forbort likely won't be back. That shouldn't surprise anybody, but
that's surprising, yeah.
From the fourth period is what it is. We haven't heard anything about Grizzly, speaking of the left side, so that doesn't really bode well. So we'll see if we get a Grizzly update soon. I've said it before, like if they wanted to bring Forward back at like $800K for a year, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just wouldn't want him to play very much. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You already have Parker Wotherspoon at $800K to probably not play very much for stretches of the season, depending on who's in the mix and who they might sign or trade for. The Bruins and Dan Heinen are talking about a new deal, Ryan, and I put a poll out today. I'm not sure if you voted on it, if you saw it when you were working.
To be honest.
I'll
go look at it now.
I think the sweet spot for Danton Heinen, term-wise, is 3 years. Okay. Sean Corelli hits the free agent market. This is one I'm referencing. Different player. He got 4 years from Columbus. So maybe he does get more than 3 years after a good season for Mr. Danton Heinen. So if we're talking 3 years, he made vet minimum last year. Are we thinking around 1.5 million a year? Are we thinking around 2 million a year? Are we thinking around 2.5, somewhere in the middle of any of those? Are you thinking 3? No. I think you could get 3 on the open market. Probably.
On the open market? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. But we're talking Bruins. Or if you feel strongly that he's going to go elsewhere, perhaps. Where is your sweet spot, and or where do you expect that number to be? Or do you expect a different term, perhaps, either? Are you in the 3-year camp?
I'm not sold on 3. I feel like I would lean maybe more towards 2 years, because
I'd be okay with that as well.
I would need another prove it year. I feel like maybe not a prove it year, but just a year to back up last year's performance, to be like, okay, you weren't just playing for like a 1-year vet minimum contract, and then you know what I'm getting at. But I mean, we've seen Bruins players leave in past years. Like, not to say like Sean Crowley didn't deserve a big payday like he got, but like we've seen players in similar fashions leave to get more money. So I'm kind of there with Heinen. Like, I think someone might pay a little extra for him to get him away, and then he ends it. And then too, if the Bruins can get an upgrade over Heinen, I think that's the direction you should be going in. But if you can get Heinen back for a decent amount of money, like 2 mil probably is where I would put that
Yeah.
at. That poll at. I would probably sit at that
I could
number.
see him. My number I feel right now is 2.25 a year.
Okay.
If I were to give a prediction, I feel like they're gonna have good contract talks. Like there's not gonna be this big disparity, I don't think. I think Heinen will want to stay here. But
Okay.
unless he gets that perfect number, or he's just like, I don't want to play anywhere else, I'll take it, whatever they give him in within reason. I kind of have a feeling just to always because he owes it to himself, and he's put himself in a position like this where he's been playing a little like short term deals in his career, bouncing around a little bit. He might be like, I like this. Can we circle back on this, and can I see if I like anything else more? But that's not to say I think he's gonna hit the market and leave. I think unless things really just don't work out, he'd leave. But I'd say the likelihood of that happening is very slim. There is the scenario where Sweeney wants to move on and put a rookie in there or spend that money on a big ticket guy and have a little more extra wiggle room. Especially if you're gonna keep Linus Olmark, which he says he's amicable to, but I think they're gonna trade him.
He's so dumb. Yeah.
That banks you some more cash, but I think we're all in the same camp. They're gonna trade Linus Olmark, is what it is. But Heinen's an interesting case. We'll see how the progress is made there. Jake Gensel is going to test free agency, and he could circle back to Carolina. I hope he doesn't, because it'd be really funny if they lost him. Elliot Friedman gave his prediction, a bold prediction, that he goes to Chicago and cashes out, plays with Connor Bedard.
Would be the worst.
Could you accelerate things if you're the Chicago Blackhawks and land Jake DeBrusk and Jake Gensel on the wings?
That wouldn't be a bad offseason at all.
A double Jake? Like, look, I don't know if they want that yet, but they built a decent amount of prospects. They have a ton of picks. Will they spend a lot in free agency, or will they be calculated on the trade market with all these extra picks and try and land a Marty Nietzsche's if he moves? He might not move now. Will they try and land even a cheaper guy like Arthur Kaliev in Los Angeles? Will they try and land someone we don't even know about? Will they try and go for Trevor Zegras, who we were talking about? There are some options there. They're going to be a very interesting team to watch. In Chicago over there, I do still like DeBrusk. That is a landing spot for DeBrusk if the contenders are lining up if he leaves, because he wants to win and he's like, all right, let me just get my money and I'll be playing for a cup in probably 2 years if things go right in Chicago. But Jake Gensel, big name. Don't think he is an option for the Bruins, but he will attract a ton of interest, and I could see him going back to Pittsburgh. I'll say that.
Ooh. Okay.
He likes it there. They just couldn't get the finances right. There was a little bit of animosity, I believe I heard as well, but not like bad animosity, just like kind of creative differences.
Nothing that burns the bridge or anything.
Yeah. Marty Nietzsche could be moved at the start of the Stanley Cup Finals, according to the Daily Faceoff. I believe it might have been Frank Saravalli that directly put this out. But apparently Carolina is telling teams they aren't ready to move him yet and they want to sign him. So is he going to move by Saturday, or are they going to sign him? Because the whole Don Waddell leaving thing kind of clouds things, because maybe Don Waddell was the reason, Marty Nietzsche just wanted out, or there were rumors that he wasn't going to sign. Maybe Eric Tulsky is a lot different and he's more amicable to signing Nietzsche, giving him a little bigger role within reason, and maybe he's more comfortable. So we'll see who's right. And maybe we'll get a Marty Nietzsche trade by next show. Maybe we'll get a Marty Nietzsche long-term extension, because he is an RFA. The Bruins are seemingly in the mix. I just don't know how strongly they will be in the mix at the very end. But there's a good chance with a lot of teams that he ends up on another Eastern Conference team. So we'll see where he ends up. He's another one of those guys, like maybe Carolina wants to trade him to a team with better assets to give up, and the Bruins don't really have a ton of amazing assets as opposed to some other teams. Former Isles coach Lane Lambert, who was just not a very good coach in my opinion, has joined the Toronto Maple Leafs staff as an associate. So maybe he could be awesome as an associate. I don't know a ton about him, but I know it did not work out with the Islanders. But the Islanders are also kind of a fart of a team. Becoming a little better, but like Lou Lamoriello has them painted in his image every year. So we'll see how that works out for Lane Lambert. and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maybe Lane Lambert and Craig Berube are just boys, and I don't know. And maybe it'll be a great fit. So that's
Can't,
that.
can't say I've ever heard an entire team described as a fart before.
Yeah, well, now you have.
That's a new one. Yeah.
Dave Gosher is staying in Vegas. I don't know if this is
Damn.
because he wants to, because it's awesome, and he's only been there for like 6 years now.
Yeah, why would you
Or
leave?
maybe Nesson didn't offer him enough money. I don't know. We don't know that.
Combination of
But
both.
we know that Dave Gosher was in the mix. I am happy that he was in the mix because I would be thrilled if he came back.
Love it if Dave Gosher came back.
Oh,
Absolutely.
he's the man. Not even just saying that as a broadcaster. I've told this story before, but at this broadcasting camp I used to go to, he was there like every summer. Got to talk to him so much. He really is the best guy ever. And I've said that about Jack Edwards too. So they both are. He really is the man. Everybody loves him here too. Would have been nice, but it is what it is. Maybe it's Alex Faust, who we saw a little bit this year's job to lose. But I don't know. Maybe there's some other candidates that aren't in the public light yet. And to wrap up the hockey segment, let's go through a couple notes from the fourth period today. Nikolai Ehlers is open to a trade. He has not requested a trade, but he is open to a trade.
It feels like you're requesting a trade.
Indirectly, yes.
If you're putting that out there, like,
yeah,
writing's kind of on the wall.
It's another one of those things. It's like he's not like sold on signing an extension.
Okay.
But we heard the same thing about Mark Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck, and they signed extensions.
Yeah, and that progressed pretty fast.
That changed kind of suddenly.
Mm.
Maybe Ehlers is different. There's going to be a ton of interest. If I'm a team like the Detroit Red Wings, the Buffalo Sabres, one of these fringe teams, or even a contender that can fit him in, I'm all over Nikolai Ehlers, especially the Sabres. I think the Sabres would be an excellent fit for Nikolai Ehlers. They're one of my top teams for him if I'm sizing things up. But yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting guy to follow. And I think he'll land a pretty decent penny for Winnipeg. But that's a big name in the market. They are exploring bringing back Dylan DeMello and Brandon Dillon. So we'll see if they can't get them. If their defense is going to be looking a lot different, maybe they're a Brett Pesce spot who we're going to talk about. Brett Pesce, Nashville is expected to circle back. They tried to trade for him last summer. He's a free agent now. Looks like he's on the way out. Carolina, great player. Great right shot defenseman, blocks shots, plays good defense, puts up a little bit of points. And Toronto, who has had interest in Brett Pesce, will be in the mix too. They've liked him for a while. I think that'd be an awesome pickup for the Leafs. He'll have a decent payday as well. Beyond the blue line, they are not retaining Tyler Toffoli, so maybe the Toffoli dream is alive. Chris Blackie, if you're listening, your longstanding dream is not dead. And with Ehlers and Toffoli, Pagnotta mentioned teams like the Islanders, Predators, Bruins, Kraken, Devils, Canucks, Hurricanes, Blackhawks, Senators, and Blue Jackets are amongst the teams looking to add a top six winger. So something to monitor there. Jacob Slavin and the Carolina Hurricanes, he's 30, very good at hockey, working on a long-term extension. I think it is their best interest to sign him and sign him quickly because I don't think it's in their best interest to let him go. We'll see what happens with Brady Shea and Brett Pesce. Looks like Pesce is on the way out. Sean Walker will have interest from teams like the Dallas Stars, Toronto Maple Leafs, Nashville Predators, and San Jose Sharks, potentially the Carolina Hurricanes. Looks like that was a rental in Colorado that didn't work out for a playoff run, but decent player there. Be kind of interesting to see San Jose land him because they've done some retooling. They've moved on from a big contract like Erik Karlsson, Tomas Hertls. They retained a little bit. But maybe this is their first big time signing. Like maybe they gave Sean Walker that $5 million he's been looking for. But they got Will Smith and Matt Celebrini coming in. That's exciting for them. Any other interesting notes here? Marner's position hasn't changed. Alex Nedeljkovic has not closed they have not closed the door on him in Pittsburgh. No, nothing really there. Nothing really there. Teams, another last interesting one. Teams have asked about Shane Wright in Seattle, the 4th overall pick, once exceptional status player, didn't live up to his billing after an awesome first WHL season. Second one wasn't as great. Falls to 4 in the 2020 draft. Has dealt with some injuries. Has gotten a little bit of ice time. They don't plan on trading him though in Seattle. So If you want Shane Wright, you're probably not getting him. Ron Francis doesn't seem too motivated to do so. That's about it. A little bit more on the rumor side. We're getting a little more progression here. Haven't heard a Jake
Slowly
DeBrusk
but surely.
update. Maybe we'll hear one by next show. Maybe we'll see Marty Nietzsche's as a Bruin next week. I don't know. Kind of feels like the Bruins are on the lower end of competitors for him right now, but that can all change. Don Sweeney did say recently he wants to be aggressive. So we'll see how aggressive and in what ways he will be aggressive, because that would make night one of the draft really exciting if they could get Marty Nietzsche's or get a first round pick. Circling back to that, maybe they get that pick back from Ottawa. That's actually theirs. So it'd be really funny if Ottawa signed Yunus Korpisalo to a bad, that I said from day one, bad contract for the next 4 years now, and immediately just brought in Omar to be a Band-Aid and, fix that. But one last note I'll make on Omar. I wonder if he changes his mind on a team geographically, maybe like LA or Colorado or Edmonton. If Edmonton, if Skinner kind of underperforms, they really want to get over the hump. Colorado wants to get over the hump over Georgiev. If a team he's not super amicable to go to, if a team like one of those teams had an extension in place, if he would change his mind.
Something food for thought there.
And things can change in the big old noggin of Linus Ullmark.
Absolutely.
Over the offseason. So we'll see. A little nugget there at the end for you. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup playoffs, Saturday. We don't have to wait too much longer for the green team, though. Very exciting. See what happens with the Red Sox. Patriots, it's a lot of just camp stuff, and Justin Jefferson signing a big deal. Christian McCaffrey, pretty standard stuff there. Not a ton to analyze on the football side, but maybe we'll have more down the road. Maybe we'll have some more Red Sox. Of course, like I said, basketball and hockey games are waning on us. So that kind of stinks.
God.
What?
Oh, waning, you said.
Oh, waning. I was like, whoa.
I was thinking more along the lines of like we're finally getting them after
yeah.
long period off. My brain's not working
You're
at this
good.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. Any closing thoughts?
Nothing too crazy.
Hockey-wise, basketball.
The only thing I was gonna make a joke along the lines of you said that Don Sweeney said he was gonna be aggressive. Let's be aggressive. Let's not be. We already had two Boston sports teams tell us in the offseason they were gonna be aggressive. And the Red Sox and the Patriots, and they were not aggressive unless you count the Patriots aggressively bringing back all their players from last year. One other team has been aggressive. It's been the Celtics. Let's even that number up. Let's put the Bruins on the Celtics side of things. Be aggressive. Make some moves to improve your team. Don't fall into the same BS spewing that the Red Sox and Patriots have fallen into. To circle it back to how we started the show, that Sam Kennedy, you're an asshole.
Yeah, he is.
It's not him though. It's the other owners. It's
the
other part of the front office. He's a Bostonian. He knows. Okay, sure, right.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah.
That's gonna wrap it up. Episode 196 in the books. You can follow us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty, at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok, throw the name of the podcast into the search bar. I was gonna do 6 through 10 after my 1 through 5 of the mock draft portion, but I will do that tomorrow. Kind of forgot / didn't have time in the mid-afternoon today, but that's okay. It'll come. And now if you listen to the podcast before then, you'll have a little teaser. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, YouTube, and Twitch. Any RSS feeds you can plug into. I'm just rambling at this point. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. Go Celtics, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace out.